Morning, my dear students. Hearty welcome to everyone. The lesson that we are going to deal today is for class 12th, subject English, unit 2 prose, topic a nice cup of tea, type an essay, theme on the preparation of tea, author George Orwell. Children, can you identify on the slide a few pictures? Can you say what they are? Yes, it is none other than varieties of tea that has been part of our human existence in our day-to-day life. On the slide we have herbal tea, iced tea, lemon tea, green tea, black tea, and of course milk tea. Can you find a woman on the picture? Yes, she has a story for us. A woman named Pillai Devi, living in Chhattisgarh at Baradia village, has been drinking just tea for the last 30 years. Is not only alive today but completely healthy. She gave up food at the age of 11 and has been surviving on tea ever since. Famous for her unique lifestyle. We people living in the midst of COVID 19, we find at times we find it difficult to get our necessary commodities, isn't it? We find difficult in terms of getting vegetable. We find difficult in terms of fulfilling our food items, isn't it? And I hope and I definitely assure you that this Pillai Devi has been a great icon, an inspiration, and above all, a lesson to our Indian society, isn't it? Do you all agree? Yes, definitely. Okay, now we shall learn about the author of the lesson. As we said earlier, the author of the lesson is George Orwell. George Orwell, his real name was Eric Arthur Blair, better known by his pen name George Orwell. He was a British writer and he was a multifaceted personality. What do you mean by multifaceted personality? He was a multi-talented person. How do we know? Yes, here we have an evidence to justify. He was an English novelist. Who is a novelist? One who writes novels. They are known as a novelist. Added to being a novelist, he was also an essayist. What do you mean by an essayist? One who writes essay. They are known as essayist. What do you mean by an essay? An essay is a written composition exploring a particular issue or subject. I hope in our school life we have an opportunity to participate in the essay context, isn't it? So you people can, I can assure you, if you follow his lesson closely, hope you will be able to equip yourself, or in the course of time you can be an essayist. Yes, we go. Added to novelist, essayist, he was also a journalist and a critic. One who writes journals are known as journalist, and a critic. What do you mean by critic? A critic is a person who is able to judge the work, the book written by another person. They take up they take up somebody's work and they are able to judge and highlight the positive as well as the negative dimensions of your work. They are known as a critic. அதாவது மற்றவங்க எழுதின புத்தகத்தில் அவங்க எழுதின அந்த புத்தகத்தில் இருக்கக்கூடிய பாசிட்டிவ் அஸ் வெல் அஸ் நெகட்டிவ் பாயிண்ட்ஸை ஹைலைட் பண்ணுறவங்களுக்கு பேர் தான் என்னது, கிரிட்டிக். அண்ட் திஸ் பர்சன் வாஸ் திஸ் sort here. Okay, the work that he wrote as a novelist, as an essayist, as a journalist and a critic, his works is marked by certain distinction, certain qualities. Hope you might have learned in your first unit highlighted by our previous teachers, where we learned Archibald Joseph Cronin. He was known for certain characteristics, qualities. What was his qualities? He was known for narrative skill. He was known for highlighting deep social conscience. At the same time, he was known for selecting or choosing finely drawn characters for his stories, because he was a storyteller, isn't it? And when we discussed something on Edwin Muir, do you remember The Castle? And this that particular poet, Edwin Muir, he was known for his individual and philosophical style of writing. So unlike those people, George Orwell, his writing, they were marked by certain qualities, distinction. What are they? We have four in number. Number one, clear prose. What do you mean by clear prose? People say, or it was said by George Orwell, if anyone who wants to write down a prose, there are 6 points that he should keep in mind. And even people say that because of this methodology, as George Orwell said, that there are 6 points to write down, because of this clarity in his writing a prose, this would have enabled him to write an essay called A Nice Cup of Tea, because there also he is going to give certain points to make a nice cup of tea. So people say that these points has a close affinity to those points that he will be telling in the course of time. Okay, point number two, he was also known for giving awareness of social inequity. What do you mean by awareness? Being or having known the fact that this is not. Okay, so he was giving awareness concerning about what? About social inequity. At the society level, those problems that which existed, he highlighted. For example, in Indian society, we have sati, we have child marriage, isn't it? And we have many more problems. Those problems are known as inequities, shortcomings, weakness to a society. So whatever happened in the society as weakness, he was a person to highlight through his writings, maybe through novels, through essay journals, and so on and so forth here. So that type of quality he had. Point number three, he was known for his opposition to totalitarianism. That's another important dimension that we have. He was highly opposed. He was highly against what? Totalitarianism. What in by totalitarianism and authoritarianism? What in by authoritarianism? In history, we have Mussolini, Hitler, all these people. They were known for cruel form of government. They were known. They really what's it? They targeted the people to suffer. So that sort of ideology, he was against it. Any sort of ideology that which suppresses mass crowd, then he would say he was really opposed to that. Point number four, he was a candidate support of democratic socialism. He was a person who was really supporting democratic form of government. In the democratic form of government, socialism has to be promoted. What is the main target of the ideology of socialism? வெல்ஃபேர் ஆஃப் த பீப்புள் இஸ் மோர் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். மக்களுடைய நலன்களுக்காக செயல்படக்கூடிய ஒரு இசம் தான் என்னன்னா சோஷியலிசம். ஸோ ஹி வாஸ் எ கேண்டிடேட் நோன் ஃபார் டெமோக்ராட்டிக் சோஷியலிசம். ஸோ தீஸ் வேர் த குவாலிட்டிஸ், ஃபோர் குவாலிட்டிஸ் இன் விச் வி குட் ஐடென்டிஃபை his reflection in the works that were written by him. Writing a clear prose, making the people to be aware, totally being against totalitarianism, and giving support to democratic socialism. Okay, that was as a person. Now when we discuss in English literature, what is the impact that he has? Orwell wrote literary criticism, poetry, fiction. What in by fiction? Short stories and polemical journalism. Okay, anyone who happened to hear the name George Orwell, immediately they fall back to the famous novel. So he has written many novels. In that we are given two main novels. One is allegorical novel and the dystopian novel. An allegorical novel is nothing. Animal Farm. This is one of the famous novel that is ever written by George Orwell. Anyone who happened to hear his name, George Orwell, they really connect the novel that he has written. Added to this one, he has also written dystopian novel 1984. Because of his wide popularity in 2008, the magazine The Times ranked him second on a list of the 50 greatest British writers since 1945. Okay, now we learned something about the author. Right by now, we are going to learn something about title of the lesson. What the lesson is trying to tell me. What is the intention of the author? These are some of the target that we have. Okay. What does it mean? What does the phrase a nice cup of tea? First of all, our lesson is an essay. Very, very important. Anyone who happened to hear at the one time or the other in your lifetime, a nice cup of tea, you should tell that it is an essay. It is an essay written by whom here? British writer George Orwell. When was it published? It was first published in the London Evening Standard. London Evening Standard is a newspaper. Do you understand? Okay, he published it on what time? On 12th January 1946. So now we know when did he publish and where and so on and so forth, who published it and what is it first of all. What is it by the by? By the way, it is an essay. Okay. Why was it written? So, what was the background? What was the motive of writing this essay? Why he wrote it at all? So, the reason that we have this essay was written at a time when tea was in short supply against the backdrop of severe food shortages across Europe. There was a great famine. அங்கே ஒரு பஞ்சம் ஏற்பட்டுச்சு. So as a result, people could not get anything. So even tea supply was in short. So against that particular background only, this essay was written by this gentleman and publishing it in the newspaper. Okay, the title of the essay, a nice cup of tea, it could be looked at from two perspectives at two levels. On the one hand, the title refers to the essay's content. The essay's content, our lesson content, it is a nice cup of tea. That means, in other words, the title of our essay is, the title of our lesson is an essay. That is the essay's content. On the other hand, it refers to the idiom. Cup of tea is an idiom. Okay, now we shall learn it. What is what? The essay's content, a nice cup of tea. The lesson is nothing. It is going to be, in simple term, you can say, it is a straightforward discussion on the craft of making a nice cup of tea. That's all. What does the essay tell us here? It is nothing, a straightforward. One by straightforward, open. It is a open discussion concerning what? On the craft, on the skill, on the ability of making a nice cup of tea. That is what the essay's content would deal about at the one level. On the other hand, the idiom, at the idiom level, what does it say? Cup of tea. When someone says, this is my cup of tea, what do you mean by cup of tea? One's favorite activity, hobbies, we can say. I can say teaching is my cup of tea. You people can say that watching TV, listening songs into 24, listening songs 24 into 7 is your cup of tea. So cup of tea is nothing. It is one's favorite activity. Whatever you like it, that is your cup of tea. Sleeping, for some, sleeping 24 into 7 is a cup of tea. Yes or no? Yes, that's what the lesson, the title of the lesson, referring at two levels. Okay, now we are not concerned about at the idiom level, but we are only concerned at the first level, the essay's content. Okay, now what was the motive, the aim of the author? Why does he give this lesson to us? What is the aim of the author? Okay, now we have the narrator on the one hand guides the reader. Now who are all reader? You are all reader. I am your reader. We are reading for the first time. We come across for the first time. So therefore, we are all readers. And who is the guide for us? George Orwell is the guide for us, isn't it? Okay, now what does he guide? So he guides the reader through instruction. Very, very important. Last time I told you he had four qualities. First one, clear writing, clear prose, isn't it? Yes. Now he is going to tell unlike if for unlike there are 6 points to write down a nice cup. Okay, unless there are 6 points to write down a prose, so also we have certain instruction, we have certain points as to what now we shall see. The narrator on the one hand guides the reader through instruction on how to make and enjoy tea. This is what his first motive. Okay, on the other hand, talks about many of the faults the people are doing while making a cup of tea. So these are the motives behind his writing. On the other hand, how to make a nice cup of tea. On the other hand, what are the mistakes that people commit while making a nice cup of tea. This is the motive behind. Okay. Now, what is the central meaning of the essay? When reading George Orwell's, people who focus on quality and detail will receive greater results over quantity. The quantity of tea that we make will have great qualitative, it will make a qualitative difference if we listen to George Orwell's advice. That's what the intention. Okay, now we shall move on to the textual words. Now we are going to the lesson straight away. So we have at the two levels. The textual words are the real words that are given in a textbook. For your further understanding, I have given in a paraphrasing. You can also follow that one. Okay, now we shall deal about the textual words. If you look up tea in the first cookery book that comes to hand, you will probably find that it is unmentioned. Or at most, you will find a few lines of sketchy instructions which give no ruling on several of the most important points. Okay, now what is it? We shall deal about here. If you look up, what do you mean by look up? Now here the word look up, it is a phrasal verb. What do you mean by phrasal verb? A phrasal verb is a verb which has got its own peculiar meaning. Whenever you read phrasal verb, you should not separate them. Phrasal verbs are to be read together. Don't say look up. If you say look up, if you separate it, it has a different meaning. Look up, it has got a peculiar meaning. So always the phrasal verbs are to be written together. Okay, now the phrasal verb look up would mean searching for or finding a piece of information in a book. Okay, if you look up tea, so if you are going to look up the word tea, where? In the first cookery book. So we have books for everything, for cooking, isn't it? For learning one of the other things. Now, the information that is given by George Orwell is anyone who happened to search the word tea in a cookery book, one may not find it. He or she may not find it. That's the reason he is giving. You will probably find that it is unmentioned. What in by unmentioned? Unreferred, unspoken. You may not find it at all. It may nothing would be mentioned about tea if you are going to search in the first cookery book. Okay. Supposing you find it. If you find it. Normally we don't find it. By chance you find it, what would happen? Or at most you will find a few lines of sketchy instructions. Supposing you find it, the word tea in a cookery book, thereby what would you come across? You will come across only a few sketchy instructions, not full information as to how to make a cup of tea. You will not find a detailed instruction. Only a little information would be given. That is the problem that we have, which give no ruling on several of the most important points. So in the first paragraph, George Orwell is trying to highlight the problem that society has. For ages, and okay, நிறைய ஆண்டுகளாக people have been finding different recipes. For ages, people have been looking in the cookery book. Now, what does he tell? George Orwell complains. He's complaining that in the cookery book, there is no correct recipe for making a cup of tea. If at all you find it, the word tea, you will not find a detailed information, a detailed instruction for making a cup of tea. This is the first, first information that he is giving. Have you all understood here? Okay. Now in the second paragraph, it is very, very important. Okay, now wherever I have underlined, wherever you find the word is underlined, they are all glossary words. You should keep in mind. This is curious, not only because tea is one of the mainstays of civilization in this country, as well as in Ayr, India, Australia, and New Zealand, but because the best manner of making it is the subject of violent dispute. So this is another problem that he finds. Last time I highlighted, the first paragraph we highlighted one problem. For ages, we have no solution. Solution for what? Finding a good instruction on how to make a cup of tea. We don't find it. We don't find any detailed instruction. If at all you find only little scant information. Little information you find. Now, the topic of tea has been highly a debatable topic. Highly, it is one of the most disputes. Why? Now for that we should understand the few lines that are given in the in the second paragraph. This is curious. What in by curious? Interesting. ஆர்வமாக இருக்கிறது. What has been interesting? The topic of tea. Why the topic of tea is interesting? Because tea is one of the main states of civilization. So in our day-to-day life, we find there are certain needs that we have. What are the fundamental needs that we have? We should have food, shelter, and clothing. We should have education, recreation, and health. Isn't it? Okay, now in that food items, you can identify tea. Tea also is one of the part of civilization. What do you mean by civilization? Can you define what do you mean by civilization, or can you define? Yes, civilization is nothing. A society in an advanced state of social development. Nagarigam. We call it in Tamil what? Nagarigam. So everyday society grows from one point to the other. Every day it evolves, isn't it? So now what happens in most of the in most of the countries, tea has been part of their food items, commodities. Which are the countries he is referring? In this country, he talks about UK as well. Now what are other countries that he is including? Ayr. What in by Ayr? Ireland. Now the word India I have included. It is not there in the textbook, but you should include also India. India also you should understand. In India also, tea is part of civilization, isn't it? Okay, so mainstays means essential, fundamental, most important. That's what mainstays. So tea is most important part of our society, our civilization. In which other countries? In UK, Ayr, India, Australia, and New Zealand. Okay, now these countries, they have been part of this particular topic. So now what is the next problem? That is the second problem that he finds, that the topic of tea has been subject of violent dispute. Now each of the country, they happen to prescribe their own method of making a cup of tea. There is no any universal points. There is no any common ideas on how to make a cup of tea. Each one trying to share their opinion, and there is no any unanimity. There is no any common opinion. So therefore, the topic of tea has been violent. What do you mean by violent? Rough, aggressive. What do you mean by disputes? Controversial. Vivadathukkuriyavai. So the topic of tea is, it is highly one of the hotly debated topics. Why? because we don't find any good, we don't find any standard methods as to prescribe. So in these two paragraphs you should know at least in one word. What is the word? Problems. Problems found out by George Orwell. What are the problems? Right by now you should know the word T is, it is okay, you may not find it, you may, okay, the cookery book that which is available, you take any cookery book, you may not find it. If at all you find it, you will find only sketchy instructions, you may not find a detailed information, isn't it? Okay, next point. The topic of tea is curious and it is part of every civilization, particularly some of the countries. And each of the country, they, okay, the topic has been a violent dispute. So very, very important. Okay, next we are going to find a solution that is offered by George Orwell. Okay, now we shall read and then we shall explain. When I look through my own recipe for the perfect cup of tea, I find no fewer than 11 outstanding points. On perhaps two of them, there would be pretty general agreement, but at least four others are acutely controversial. Here are my own 11 rules, every one of which I regard as golden. Okay, in the previous slide, we found out the problem. Problem found out by whom here? George Orwell. How long it has been? For ages, for many ages, the problem has been there. That what was the problem? We don't find a well standard a solution. Solution for what? For framing rules for making a nice cup of tea. We don't find it. Okay, now therefore what does he do here? When I look through my own recipe, now he is going to frame, he is going to bring solution for the deficiency. What was the deficiency? There were no any particular standard of rules for making a nice cup of tea. So therefore he found out the problem and now he is going to offer a solution. How he is going to offer a solution? By publishing his own personal opinions. Whose personal opinions? George Orwell's personal opinions. And when did he publish it? On 12th January 1946. In which paper? In London Evening Standard newspaper he published it. Do you understand why we said there in the beginning of the lesson? Yes. Okay. Why he wanted to publish it? So that there is some standard rules for making a nice cup of tea. Okay. When I look through my own recipe for the perfect cup of tea, I find no fewer than 11 outstanding points. Now, how many of them are in number? How many points that he comes across to make a perfect cup of tea? Not less than 11 points. How many points he said to write a clear prose? There are 6 points. So because of that clarity for writing a prose, many tell that points would have inspired him to frame these 11 rules. Now, do you understand the connection here? Yes. Okay. Now, what happens to those 11 points? Those 11 points are not simple points. They are outstanding points. Why they are outstanding points? Each points are very, very, very important. You people are, you students of this present 11th and upcoming 12th standard. Who you people are going to be 12th standard and you people are outstanding. What by outstanding? Important, essential. So we can't bracket out, we can't we can't lessen any of the points. All the 11 points are necessarily they are important. That's what he tells. Do you understand here? So how many points are there? 11 points. Very, very important. And perhaps two of them there would be pretty general agreement. So among the 11, 2 points it is well agreed by everyone, but at least four others are acutely. What by acutely? Acutely means severely controversial. What in by controversial? Highly debatable, arguable, விவாதத்திற்கு உரியவை. At least 4 points among the 11 points. At least 4 points are hotly debatable topics, hotly controversial, totally against Any society cannot accept. That's what he would say here. Okay. Here are my own 11 rules. Every one of them which I regard them golden. Okay. Now each of the points that he has framed, those 11 points that he has framed, and those 11 points are known as golden points. Very, very important points because they are outstanding points. How many of them are pretty agreement? Two are pretty agreement without any. How many of them are controversial? At least four are acutely controversial. Have you all understood here? So in the last, I mean, this paragraph and the last two paragraphs, we have found out the problems, and right by now the solution that is offered by George Orwell. Have you all understood, my dear students? Yes? Okay. Hereby we go. So, therefore, what should come into your mind? Therefore, in this lesson, we have nothing. George Orwell's 11 golden rules for making a nice cup of tea. This what should come to your mind. Whenever, wherever, however you hear the phrase a nice cup of tea, what should linger in your mind? 11 golden rules. Framed by whom here? George Orwell. For what? For making a nice cup of tea. Okay. Those 11 outstanding golden principles, it is not only going to be a helping aspect to him, but to all the lovers of tea as well. Isn't it? Yes. Okay, now right by now we are very much clear about what the lesson is all about. The lesson is nothing an essay written by George Orwell, and he suggests okay, first of all he found out the problem, thereby at the same time he found out the solution, and what was the solution? He came out with the 11 points, and those 11 points are outstanding because they are golden. Okay, now we are going to discuss in detail each of the points. Okay, thereby, hereby we move to the first rule for making tea. Okay, first we shall follow the textual words. First of all, so he is starting with the first rule. One should use Indian or Ceylonese tea and not China tea. So at this COVID-19, where all the countries are very angry at China because we know what happened, isn't it? Okay, now the other also is on the side of supporting us. See, don't go for taking China tea. Anything would happen to you. Okay, now what do you now? Why he tells so? We should understand, isn't it? Yes. First of all, one should use Indian or Ceylonese tea. What by Ceylonese? Sri Lankan. That's why it take that tea. Don't go for China tea. Okay, now not going for China tea. Does it mean that it is highly, totally, it should be neglected? What is the now? What is the what are the ingredients that are there in the China tea, and what is the reason for not accepting China tea? We should know. Okay, now China tea has got both the dimensions, positive dimensions as well as negative dimensions. Okay, now we shall see in detail. Positive dimension of it, China tea. China tea has virtues and is economical, not to be despised nowadays. So this is the first point that he is telling. China tea has virtues. What in by virtues? Admirable qualities. What are the admirable qualities that we found from the first lesson? From Nicola and Jacopo, they were highly helping their sister, isn't it? They were highly hardworking, industrious. They were known for honesty, truthfulness, isn't it? They were known for self-sacrifice. So this is what virtues. Virtues mean குணநலன்கள் நல்ல நல்ல குவாலிட்டி நல்ல நம்மள்ட்ட இருக்கக்கூடிய நல்ல நல்ல பழக்க வழக்கங்கள். That's what we can also say virtues. So now China tea has virtues and is economical. What in by economical? Very cheap. It is not that much what's a high priced one. It is very cheap. So therefore not to be despised nowadays. One be despised, hated, வெறுக்கிறது. We can't hate it because China tea has got virtues and it is economical. And what is another quality, positive quality? One can drink it without milk. See, what is another good thing that we have? We need not add milk at all. Even without adding milk, you can take China tea. Yes, but what is a side effect? What is a negative dimension? Why the author does not suggest any points to prefer for China tea? There is not much stimulation in it. One by stimulation, excitement. Excitement. Okay, it does not boost you. It does not give you so much of energy. Okay, so much of energy as such. So there is not much stimulation in it. One doesn't feel wiser, braver, and more optimistic after drinking it. So the moment anyone takes China tea, they are not part of it. They are not. They don't become intelligent people, wiser people. They don't become stronger people. Stronger people and more optimistic, and they are not that much positive. They don't feel positivity, the energy of positivity. They don't feel it. They don't feel hopeful aspect. So therefore the author suggests not to go for China tea. Do you understand here? Even though it has virtues and economical and one can drink it without milk, but this is what in China tea there is no much stimulation and it doesn't make us wiser, braver, optimistic. Do you understand here? Okay, now another important thing that we are going to come across. See there? Anyone who has used that comforting phrase, a nice cup of tea, invariably means Indian tea. We should be very proud. See, the other thing where he is supporting, where he is part of Indianness, isn't it? Even though he is a foreigner, see how he feels at Indianness. Do you all feel that one? Yes. Okay, so anyone who uses a phrase, a nice cup of tea, they indefinitely, invariably, definitely they would mean or they would refer to Indian tea. Okay. Now what happens? Anyone who takes Indian or Ceylonese tea, what is their feeling? One does feel wiser, braver, or more optimistic after drinking it. See what a magnanimity that we have in our Indian tea. Yes or no? We should be very proud. So right by now we are very thorough with the first rule for making a nice cup of tea. What is the first rule? One should use or prefer or drink only Indian or Ceylonese tea. And what should not be preferred? What should not be taken? China tea. Okay, just we shall learn the next one. The second rule for making tea. The last slide we came across which tea has to be preferred, isn't it? Okay, now in the second rule we are going to see in detail how it should be made, out of what tea should be made, how and out of what. In the first slide, what tea has to be preferred out of many teas that are available. In the second slide we have to learn how tea should be made, whether it should be made more or it should be made less, and out of what it should be made. These are the two questions that we are addressed here. Secondly, tea should be made in small quantities. Are you very sure here? Yes, you should not make andas after andas. It should be made small. So just keep in mind here, small quantities. That is in a teapot. How it should be, okay, how it should be made here, out of what it should be made here, in a teapot. Okay, now he is going to support China, at least here, at least to this point he is supporting China. See that teapot shall be made of china or earthenware. So the teapot that which are to be used for making a nice cup of tea, at least it shall be made of china or earthenware. Okay, now there are certain vessels that we have that are not to be used. Now what are those vessels? If you make tea out of those vessels, what are the side effects that we have? Okay, one by one we are given. Tea out of an urn is always tasteless. What in by urn? Urn is vessel, a large container. Okay, if you make tea out of an urn, you could see in that picture, urn, it is always tasteless. It won't give you taste. Okay, next happens. What happens? Army tea. Can you identify an army? Yes. While army tea made in a cauldron. What in by cauldron? A cauldron is a large pot, a bowl, a big anda. While army tea made in a cauldron, taste of grease and whitewash. One by grease, the thing, a thick oily substance used as a lubricant. Okay, in all the what's the four wheelers, two wheelers, we use grease. So if you make, okay, in an army tea, what happens? Tea that is made that is made out of, or the tea that is made in a cauldron, they give the taste of grease as well as whitewash. What by whitewash? A mixture of water and lime. So that is another side. Okay, the another thing that we have. Okay, next one, first one, if you make tea in an urn, tasteless. If you make, okay, while army tea that is made in a cauldron is grease and whitewash. Third one, if you make tea in a silver or Britannia ware, or in a teapot of that sort, they produce inferior tea. They don't produce superior, but they make inferior tea. What was his main target? His main target was to emphasis on quality, not quantity. Do you understand here? Yes or no? Yes. So if you want a qualitative one, then you should not prefer silver or Britannia ware. Okay, next one, an enamel pots. So, okay, now making tea in a silver and Britannia ware, that could produce inferior tea. And what could be the worst of even the, and what could be the worst of even silver or Britannia making tea in enamel pots? Enamel, making tea in an enamel pots could be worse than silver or Britannia ware. That's what he tells here. Okay, the last point. Okay, though curiously enough, a pewter tea pot. Can you identify in that picture a pewter? Yes. Yes. Though curiously enough, a pewter teapot, a rarity nowadays, is not so bad. So if you may, if you could get a pewter teapot, but that is very rarity. What in by rarity? Under supply. You may not get it, find it. You may not get it or find it. It is very rare to get pewter teapots. If you could identify so, then it is not so bad. You could also prefer pewter teapot. Do you understand here? Okay, so that's the end of the day for us. Okay, today we have learned, and we shall see rest of things tomorrow.